Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Iowa 911 Communications Council meeting for 9/24. Kara, could you please give us a roll call of our council members?
Sure. Chris Jasper.
Here.
Jeff Miller.
Here.
Sharon Rogers here. Mike Bryant.
Here.
Eric Daw. How about Tom Berger?
Tom Berger's here.
Thank you. I heard Tracy Bearden is absent. Is Sean Schneider on? Sean Schneider. Okay, Richard Pierce.
Here.
Robert Denner.
Here.
Adam Will.
Here.
Taylor Tiefel. Report.
Okay, thank you. Could I please get a motion to approve today's agenda? Here's makes a motion. Second, any discussion? All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, same. And likewise, can I get a motion to approve the April 11th, 2024 minutes? So moved. Second. Here's seconds. Okay. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, same sign. And motion carries. Wait, do we have a report?
We do. I'm just going to go into the financials. First, I am pulling up the quarterly payments. Nothing really of note there. If you remember, we did have 3 counties that submitted late expenditure reports. However, they were all submitted prior to us doing quarterly payments, so they all got their full amounts. So again, nothing much out of the ordinary there. If I can find my mouse to move to the next screen. Maybe. All right. So if we look at the quarterly expenditure report, 7.9 million came in wireless surcharge. You can see the interest is 56,000 for the quarter, and prepaid revenue was 623,000. If you continue down the sheet, when you look at the network costs, that they were just over 5.1 million, and we carried over 165,000 into the surplus. One of the metrics I often look at to see how we are doing financially is to see where we're at with how much we put into the surplus. So again, in this case, the 165,000, and then how much we are spending in non-recurring costs for virtual consolidation or PSAP moves. So it has been a while since we've actually had a net positive when I look at those 2 metrics. This quarter, we netted 25,000. So we put more into surplus than we took out for virtual consolidation efforts and PSAP moves. So that's a good thing. But again, that saving up $25,000 a quarter when you normally are upside down is not going to go very far. Any questions on the expenditure report? That kind of closes out my review of the financials, unless there's any questions. Okay. Moving into the rest of my report, just an update from where we were at legislatively from the last meeting. And I did send this out to PSAPs as well as the 911 Council, but I just wanted to cover it again here. The Boards and Commissions Bill, Senate File 2385, did pass. However, there was an amendment that was also passed that will keep the 911 Council in existence for the foreseeable future. So the 911 Council will continue to meet as scheduled. So that was a win for the council, I would say. The next one was the School Safety Bill, House File 2652. That also passed. However, there were amendments offered to that one as well, which really kind of it will not take the $3 million out of 911 funding for the purposes of that bill. So again, while the bill passed, it really kind of doesn't relate to 911 funding going forward. There's a number of things that impact us as a department that we will be doing, but it's again, not really related to 911 whatsoever. So while again, those bills passed, really not much to do about nothing as far as the 911 Council and 911 funding are concerned. We do have a new hire for the program. That will be announced here the end of this week, the end of next week, something like that. The person is internal from our department and has some local PSAP experience. So the name, like I said, will be shared here shortly. Once that becomes official within our department, I will share it out to the community. I know a number of you have taken the policy routing function lookup training that Comtech is doing. We're hoping to shorten that a little bit and potentially make it a little bit more succinct in the delivery style. And also that will be posted on our online Google shared site. So if you haven't been able to take the live training, you'll at least be able to catch the recorded video that way. The next bullet there is the graphic that you also see. We worked with CISA, special thanks to Chris Myers on his efforts on this, to produce a swatting poster for PSAPs. If you recognize the format, it's because it's very similar to the denial of service poster and the ransomware poster that we've also produced. So this one is also available on our Google shared site for download. And if anyone wants me to just send it to them or send them the link for that download, just get in touch with me and I will make that search a little bit easier for you. Finally, on this slide, just kind of as a reminder that we've been talking now for about a year about needing to do something within 34A for surcharge and kind of reanalyzing what that might look like going forward. So we've kind of conveyed all along that our eye has been pointed to the upcoming legislative session, so the one that starts in January. I know the session just ended, but time's going to go fast, especially when you look at the timeline on what it takes to do a department bill. So those discussions are actually going to start in earnest today. There is a work group that's been convened to help with those discussions. My goal is to be absolutely transparent. So if you are interested in serving in that work group, let me know. Also, we will be taking kind of those discussions to the regional supervisor group meetings, to this council, to make sure everyone is up to date on where we're at with that. And then even, when we do determine that we have kind of a workable solution, there's still a lot of work to be done with that to run a department bill. So there should be no surprises with that. If you feel like you're not getting information, that's absolutely not the goal or the plan. Just let me know and I will be an open book on what we're working towards. Any questions on that slide? All right, quick review of the GIS grants. We continue to bat 1,000 in the month of April. All 99 counties met the benchmarks. As a reminder, we pay that out quarterly. So July is when we will send out the Q4 GIS grant payments. There are no training funds to approve for this meeting. Zetron will have an update on the statewide training that we approved last month. So that actually wraps up my briefing. If there's any questions for me, I can either take them now or I can turn it over to Paul Guest with Zetron. So first, any questions for me? All right, Paul, if you want to cover shared services.
Thank you, Blake, and good morning, everybody. No specific program updates in the Iowa Shared Services for this month's council meeting. The state map, as we generally share, shows Potawatomi as the sign pending implementation and then the other implemented states. Next slide, please, Blake. As Blake mentioned, the online training portal, which was approved at last month's council meeting, is gearing up. Just to recap again what this is an online training portal that provides unlimited training for everybody, whether you're a telecommunicator, a supervisor, part of management. I want to make it clear you do not need to be on the Iowa Shared Services. This is open to all PSAPs statewide, all personnel within those PSAPs. You will be assigned a dedicated service admin, and that person will help you in administrating your own portal. Each PSAP will operate independently, and each PSAP and their designated training coordinator will determine which classes, what the learning path is, what reports you want to have generated out of it. And you can choose from the 500 courses that are there. You can add your own material and even upload vendor training recordings within the portal access. The next steps are within the next week or two, you will receive an email to the primary agency contact. That agency contact can either substitute in the training administrator or have themselves as the person that's going to be the point of contact. And then we're going to run a series of onboarding classes every 2 weeks at the start of the program to have several agencies join at once. We'll record those classes for anyone that couldn't make it and for new agencies that just want to, look at it, or for the ones that are onboarding and new personnel just want to refresh what it is. And then once we've given this, a month or so to onboard, that's when we'll start the funding clock for the 9 months. Any questions on the online training portal for myself? Hearing none. Blake, next slide, please. And just a reminder again, the Iowa Insider newsletter comes out later this month. Email lynn.warren@zetron.com to have your name added to the newsletter. And that wraps up my report to you, Blake.
All right. Any questions for Paul or myself? If not, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Dylan. As mentioned, we don't have any training fund requests, so we'll move on to reports of officers. Board and we have any technical advisory? Okay, you're none. Get an update on the Iowa statewide interoperable communication system.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Ryder. So I'll start with the severe weather that devastated Southwest Iowa last weekend, or in April, and then again hit the same area. So that helped prove the resiliency of the ISIC system. It appears that the Shelby Tower in Harlan took a direct hit from the tornado that also destroyed a farm directly across the road. And then that same tower took another hit. So if you stick around for the ISIC board meeting, our system administrators will show a slideshow and show some pictures of the damage to that tower. But during that entire time, our radio system stayed up and communications continued through all of that. So it just does show that the system is resilient and can weather storms like that. Moving on, next week I am headed to CISA's Cyber Resilient 911 Symposium for information on cyber attacks and preparedness. And then before our next meeting in June, I will also have the opportunity to go to NICSWIC, and then I'll come back and share some information that I gained there. So that will be beneficial, those meetings. Work continues with the REMS CDP grant. As a reminder, that's Rural Emergency Medical Communications. If there's any interest in information on that, you can join the RIC 1 meeting where that's a standing agenda item. Really, for this group, that's all I have. Oh, I guess I will mention that the COMEX, I did send a message out to the supervisors groups yesterday. The COMEX is mostly full. There would be a few positions left for any COML personnel who are working on a position task book, and then a few COMT position actually opened up also. So if anybody is interested, that event is June 19th and 20th in Story County. So please reach out very soon if you have any personnel or interest in that. What we are also looking for is volunteers to run the SimCell. Those positions would be perfect for anybody, really anyone who has the ability to read a script and run a portable radio. So we were thinking that dispatch personnel, even trainees or people new to dispatching, or had interest in learning more about those COMU positions, didn't know much about them, or had an interest, but weren't quite sure that they wanted to do something like that. This event would be a great opportunity to run the sim cell, read those scripts. All they have to do is really read what's on a piece of paper and sort of see the event in action and volunteer their time for the day. I know that it takes them out of your center and that you have to give them to us for that day. But if there's any opportunity for that, please reach out and let me know that you'd be willing to do that. We could use them for that opportunity. And that's all I have, unless there's questions for me.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. We get an update from U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, Chris Myers.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning to the council. Appreciate the time today. It's been a busy month at CISA, and I want to start out with the Joint Cybersecurity Advisory for the Acura ransomware group. This CSA was released by the FBI, CISA, Europol's European Cybercrime Center, and the Netherlands National Cybersecurity Center. This is joint release because this ransomware has really known no boundaries. This ransomware group, it's gone after businesses, critical infrastructure, and government agencies. And of note, it has affected communication systems across the country. This one is mainly executed using a password spraying attack at VPNs that the actors can find online. And if they are able to gain access to a system, in some cases, they've had carte blanche access to a lot of different things, and they've gone on to encrypt it and then demand ransom. This CSA has information on various tactics and mitigation steps, and most notably, the defense evasion tactics that this group uses with their ransomware. They have been very effective at sidestepping a lot of the safeguards that agencies have tried to implement. And this thing also talks about those along with ways to prioritize remediating known exploited vulnerabilities that this group has used. The biggest thing agencies can do is enable multi-factor authentication for all services that use VPNs that they are looking at attacking, whether it's webmail, VPN access for system level functions and updates, and also any general access to critical systems. In many cases, multi-factor authentication would have prevented attacks that have occurred. And if you are using a VPN, it's highly recommended that you enable multi-factor as soon as you can. The other thing you can do is regularly patch and update software and applications to their latest versions, and also routinely check what you have in your software and hardware inventory to make sure that you know that any assets that are very valuable to you, you understand the vulnerabilities and you're working to patch them. Once again, this group has been prolific, and they have gotten into some communication systems that are out there. On the next slide, we do have an updated CSA on spear phishing, and this has been around for a while, but not necessarily in this factor, as this is state-sponsored spear phishing. Now, while it hasn't necessarily affected U.S. entities or interests just yet, it is one of those things where once someone learns how to do this, you cannot make them unlearn it. And this is where the North Korean spear phishing efforts have been very good at creating fake usernames, using legitimate domain names. So think about where your emails come from your sheriff's office or your government entities. They've been good at spoofing those. They will reach out to constituents. They will reach out to government entities. They will present them with fake invoices, data files that are laced with malware, you name it. So the big thing to look out for here that's listed in the CSA is there are some indicators that include awkward English in emails, documents with macros that you may not want to run anyways. So I guess the old standby advice of not running macros and documents applies here. And also some follow-up emails 2 to 3 days after the initial contact that may be dismissed by the recipient. They may try to follow up to elevate the sense that this is official communication. Just keep in mind that these types of attacks will get more sophisticated as time progresses, and other actors are probably going to take some cues from the North Korean group and use them. So if you think about law enforcement, you don't necessarily want your sheriff's office's emails to be spoofed by nefarious actors to trick your stakeholders in thinking it's legitimate communication. So just be on the lookout for this. Finally, the last alert today is a directory traversal vulnerability alert. This is a joint release by CISA and the FBI. Basically, this talks about how if you can get access to a system, you may be indirectly able to access other things. Think of it metaphorically as someone gets access to a PSAP through the front door, and then from there, there's a stairwell that gives them access to other facilities that may not be accessible through things like hallways and primary entry points. Directory traversal basically allows the user to illicitly access all sorts of things, whether it's application files, directories, and information, or even system level processes. There's a concerted effort to try to shore up a lot of the software applications that we rely on that may have these vulnerabilities. You can read about them within this alert. This does have a fairly broad reach as well. I remember back many years ago, say 15, 20 years ago, sitting at home on my internet when my ISP did an update, and suddenly I could see the home directories of anybody else that was within my neighborhood. That was a very quickly fixed bug, but think of that type of access as being similar to that. Finally, regional news of note, we do have the Cyber Resilient 911 Symposium coming up next week in Kansas City. Glad that we're going to have a very strong presence from Iowa there. In addition, there's going to be a FIFA World Cup Cities planning meeting taking place in Dallas, Texas. We do have a FIBA city within the Midwest and Region 7, which is Kansas City. We also have a couple of communications exercises coming up, one being in Kansas the week of June 11th. We also have the big Central States one coming up in the Joplin Quapaw area in mid-September. The Kansas SIAC meets today as well. And of course, we're still looking at setting up meetings for the July timeframe where the state level interoperability markers update. The emails will actually go out relatively soon. That is my report for today, Mr. Chair. I can go ahead and take any questions.
Okay, thank you. All right, do we have any updates from the 34A or the Baseline Knowledge Committee?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No reports at this time.
Okay, thank you. Legislative issues, and I know Blake has mentioned it. The one thing I would say about that, about legislative issues, is I spent a fair amount of time at the Capitol here the last month or so, and I was pretty impressed by how many of legislative folks on both sides, both chambers, talked about the outreach from not only people from this committee, but people who partake in this meeting on a monthly basis. And it was not lost on them that this was a council that actually meant something and provided service to not only those involved in 911, but the people of Iowa in general. So I just want to thank everybody who took the time to reach out to their representatives and their senators to affect a change in the bill that was otherwise looking like it was going to pass. So that didn't happen by accident. That happened because people reached out, and I thank you for doing that if you're one that did, and I know a lot of you did. Do we have any information sharing by council members?
I would just echo what you said. I was going to say on behalf of Nina that was obviously a legislative priority for us, and thank you to everybody who reached out. I know there was quite a few. We had positive conversations in the Capitol for Nina and ACTO, so thank you to everybody that did that as well.
Okay, anything else? Okay, I don't have any new business or old business. Travel requests. Do we have any business from the floor here in this room? Any business from our participants joining us virtually? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Do I have a second? Here's second. All right, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned, everyone. Thank you. Have a great day.